recording now. And with that, I would hand over to Thorsten.
Thank you very much. Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to my session today about BPC AI and the move to the cloud. Just up front, the usual disclaimer, probably many of you know that already. I have the pleasure to share some of the roadmap items today with you, as you know, especially in the area of artificial intelligence. There's a lot of things going on, so some of the things I'm going to show you today are not yet available, roadmap items, so be very careful, with that, and don't make any decisions just on, what you have seen here, maybe in that webinar. So today, it's about BPC. We having here a webcast series about ERP. So you probably wonder, how comes the BPC into that place? Well, I mean, the reason is pretty simple. When you take a look closer, the P in ERP stands for planning. Of course, our ERP system has certain planning functionalities, but a lot of the more complex planning topics has actually been, carved out the ERP system and have moved into specific planning applications, such as business planning and consolidation, for example. My goal for today is actually to really show you, how the AI innovations that we have delivered and that we are constantly delivering, in conjunction with a solid, high-quality data foundation, can actually help you to transform your planning process. And it's not only about the financial planning that's sitting maybe to most of the cases in ERP, but also about planning in other departments, other scenarios, such as, HR planning, sales planning, and those kind of topics. But of course, the focus today is really about our loyal SAP BPC customers. And I would like to, present a couple of options how a transition from BPC towards extended planning analysis in the cloud could be interesting for those customers and what we have delivered here. So basically, we're trying to transform the planning, giving high quality data, bringing artificial intelligence in that, and building all of that a trusted foundation for a good plan. When we take a look at the structure today, basically I divided that in three chapters. First of all, I want to discuss a little bit what are the transformation aspects that we see in the market and the customer demand here when it comes to planning. Then we would take a closer look into what options do we actually have to move everything or pieces of that step by step into a cloud environment. Maybe very much aligned with your ERP transformation in the cloud, but not necessarily. So you could go for a different speed here in the planning and analysis area. And last but not least, I want to really point out a couple of our AI innovations that we have infused into planning to give you some good reasons, first of all, why you should transform to cloud, and secondly, why it's easier now to move from BPC into, for example, SAC planning compared to in a world before AI. Let's start directly with the transformation. So when we take a look at what we have today, it's often like a siloed planning. So we see customers, doing their financial planning, they're doing their sales planning, they're doing their HR planning, they're doing their supply chain planning, but that's all kind of often siloed. Yes, we've seen certain approaches in also in BPC where transfer data from one model to the other, from one cube to the other, but still it's more like a single process. The intention of extended planning analysis is actually to bring those silos together and make that really one approach. And that should help answering questions like, if I would invest into that on that product or that on that region, what impact has that on my HR planning? What impact does it have, for example, on my real estate projects and plans? Do we have any constraints on the production side and so on? So these are things that we really would like to bring closer together And extended planning analysis is really, the term that we use when we talk about planning that is really happening across scenarios, across departments, across subsidiaries, of course, and across divisions. And the objective is, of course, to have a better aligned plan and also to make plans easier. Because what you see when you do this more siloed planning approaches is that you have multiple iterative steps. Because you have closed the one planning cycle, for example, the budgeting side, then you move into the production planning, and then you see a gap, a mismatch, and then you have to go back to the finance planning and reopen certain activities, plan again, because you didn't, consider certain, restrictions that there will be. So this is, really taking a lot of time, and time is critical in a business environment like this today. So connecting plannings across everything is our goal. And to do that, basically, you have to follow, of course, certain steps that always come, in a circle. You have to plan, you have to execute on your plans. You have to bring also these plans back into the transactional systems to have really control about that. And of course, you bring the plan into your forecast process and make sure everything is aligned, and it helps really to steer your company. The first step, actually, when you were trying to build up a planning scenario that is connected to each other, is actually you need a solid foundation. And the solid foundation for extended planning analysis starts with a model that is compatible with other models. So that means, you have to have the capabilities and the design to make those different planning scenarios interoperate with each other. And this is, where our, business content comes into place. So over the past years, we have developed what we call business content, and that are rapid deployment packages that are really based on best practices. So it's not just a data model that we publish and that customers can download and install. It's also from the structure and from the processes, from the naming conventions, from the look and feel. Everything is aligned so that you can really plug different kind of contents together and build an integrated scenario for your company. So one of the most important contents we have published, and I would say that many of our customers in the cloud are already using, is our integrated financial planning content for SAP S/4HANA and S/4HANA Cloud. So we have that for RISE and we have that for Grow. So these are really the main package, I would say, where everything starts. So that's kind of the foundation. Using that content really has significant advantages. First of all, you go back to standard. Very important, even in planning, where many customers have developed their very own structures and ideas and processes and data models. It is really essential, to simplify that, bringing that back to the standard, keep the core clean, because that's the way you can really achieve faster time to value. You have the seamless integration that we offer out of that. You have industry best practices in there, and you have a very good guided documentation how you can start leveraging that model and that content. A model, basically, I mean, it's just a phrase you might hear me using quite often. A model is basically not just a data structure, not only the data model, but it includes also, things like the report, certain business logic is included, metadata and master data, for example, how to represent a hierarchy in the right way. In a financial report, you would like to have maybe the hierarchies for a P&L displayed in a different way than you would use for a product hierarchy, for example. So all of that is part of that content and that model. One of the other, content that has really, been crucial for many of our customers is our content for workforce planning. We do have several aspects here. It's not only about the long-term strategic workforce planning, but also more operational tasks, right? Like short-term tactical alignments, adjustments to immediate workforce needs. You see there's like a wave of flu coming in, and you see like you probably need to reshift staffing from one, maybe from one factory to the other, and these kind of things. That is all part of our planning content here. We are also having things that are more, future oriented. For example, take a look at future skills that are required. Skill planning is something also that we are working on. Retirement trends and so on. So these are really examples, what the HXM content here can deliver. And that is built directly leveraging the data that comes from our SuccessFactors system, so our HR system that is cloud-based and therefore perfectly integrated here with our cloud-based content. As you can see probably here on that screenshots, that all is based on SAP Analytics Cloud, but I don't want to go into the details of the technology yet. We will come to that a little bit later. The last example I like to show you when it comes to our XP&A content is actually commercial planning. So commercial planning really is about the sales planning, the marketing planning, the portfolio planning. So basically, you define, which salesperson is covering which territory. You adjust, revenue expectations. You have a lot of commenting because especially in sales planning, right? There is a lot of things in the discussion in the account planning happening where where your sales representative make assumptions, document them in the system, especially for the larger customers to make sure also that qualitative information is kept during the planning process. Then we have marketing planning, which is all about the incentives or trade promotion things and so on. And last but not least, portfolio planning, where you play around a lot with this pricing conditions and see what change in the price could have what impact on the revenue and what influencing factors actually there are. So all these things, or these they're just 3 examples out of our huge list of content that we have created in the past. And the good thing is that that's really, really very well designed, so that can really work together when you're trying to go to an integrated planning approach or extended planning, right? Why do I tell you that? The reason I think it is one of the main drivers for the customers I've been talking to is why they're moving to the cloud. The BPC content that we had out there or have out there is also pretty good, but it has not been adapted really on the new cloud solutions that we offer. There is no such good content, for example, for HR planning like we have that here now with Analytics Cloud. So that there are really reasons, why also leveraging that content can make migration projects so much easier compared if you would just go for a one-to-one like migration, right? Now we have covered a little bit the content piece. I would now like to go a little bit deeper, more on the technical side, on the data side, right? As you can see, data is essential these days. I mean, you can't use really any of the AI solutions without having a trusted data foundation, right? So when we talk to customers, what are they actually in need for, right? When it comes to planning and analysis, it's basically easier access to SAP data, right? Take a look back, you have data in your ERP system. It gets replicated once a day, maybe into your BW system. And then you would like to use that for just one little, piece of your planning process in BPC. it takes a while, right? What happens is customers, can't wait for that. They don't have the IT budget to do things like that. So they often, download stuff in Excel, do their planning in Excel, and then just upload the result of the planning process into BPC, for example, just because there is no easy access to SAP data. And you want to have the data available across all lines of business. You don't want to deal with a customer having different numbers, different IDs in different systems. You want to have that aligned, right? You want to have really a unified view on, what is going on your business across the SAP application, and of course also across non-SAP applications that you'd like to integrate into that. And that data has to have the right format also to be consumed by AI. Otherwise, it's not AI ready, and you cannot really fully benefit from the newest innovation. So, I don't know. Faster time to insight, simplified landscape. I think these things are very clear. Every one of you can refer to what that means for the individual situation. Now, that's the old day, right? I mean, we have multiple sources. You have your ERP data. Well, let's take an assumption. 80% of your finance data is in. You bring that to BW. You use BPC on top of that. Now, in parallel, parts of the company has adopted cloud solutions. So you might use Ariba. You might use SuccessFactors. Bring those data into DataSphere. And of course, then you have other data, maybe from the production side, maybe machinery data, or billing data coming from certain customers that you would like to integrate. And all of that is kind of loose. Of course, you can connect that, but it's an effort, right? It really takes a lot of effort. And this is where really, we come with our latest innovation or latest product, so to say. It's the SAP Business Data Cloud. I believe many of you have heard about that launch that we did must be 2 weeks ago, just recently. And that is the SAP Business Data Cloud. The idea of the Business Data Cloud is to simplify the customer landscape dramatically, and to also, offer certain services with that, right? So we take care of a lot of the plumbing in the background to make sure, whatever you have in your SAP source system, we bring that in the right format into the Business Data Cloud, so you can consume that very easily. So that's really the goal, what we call data products. So we'll come to that a little bit later, but data products is the approach really to make sure we have a standard approach and a standard format where all the data from different sources gets together and is very well aligned. And it's no wonder this is kind of the next step to what we have already done with the business content, right? I mean, the business content is kind of the first step. You also have an aligned model behind that. But the data products are even more richer to that. And we are, also offering services to that. Yeah, that's really, what helps you then to connect the data. And connecting the data brings, not only much more data into the game, but it also increases, the quality, right? And that then is, of course, the best foundation to run AI, scenarios on top of that, to really, get the benefit out of that and, improve the business processes and use things like Joule, Copilot, do complex automation, and so on. Come to that later. I have an example about how Joule works in that context. Let's dive a little bit into the SAP Business Data Cloud, because I would say that that's pretty new. And I thought, especially for the BPC customers, this could be a significant advantage to what we've seen before, right? But first of all, I mean, you have the data coming from different SAP applications. So it might be S4. It might be SuccessFactors, Ariba, Concur, you name it. All of those source systems, of course, are still there. And on top of that, we have now the data products with the harmonized data model. That's what I was just talking about. So There is really something that we deliver as predefined data products that are a perfect fit to the individual SAP source systems. And on top of this data product, you could now activate inside the SAP Data Cloud additional components. So, for example, and that's for the BPC customers really new now. You can add to Business Data Cloud the SAP Business Warehouse, so the BW. And of course, if you have the BW available, you could also use SAP Business Planning and Consolidation. So that means you can bring your BW with all your data and the BPC side into the Business Data Fabric layer of the Business Data Cloud, and then start leveraging also the benefits of having data products with harmonized data models. And there are different options out there, right? And inside the Business Data Cloud, we have additional aspects. For example, the SAP DataSphere is part of that. SAP Analytics Cloud with the analytics and the planning functionality is part of that. And then we have solutions for the data engineering piece, where we leverage Databricks. And very important, of course, our AI Copilot Joule, which I will present you later. And on top of that, we are going to deliver Inside Apps. Inside Apps is also something new that hasn't been there yet. We see basically three main boxes. We have like third-party apps, so Inside Apps that have been developed by partners for our customer. Then we have analytical Inside Apps, so especially those that span across different line of businesses and departments. And then we have apps that are related to planning. For example, workforce planning and skill planning is something that we do have on the roadmap. These Inside Apps are kind of the next evolution of our business content. And while the business content often was just focusing on a UI piece like a report and then maybe a data entry sheet, and then the data model and connectivity, the Inside Apps can include much more. So they can really have like coding, program logic, business logic included, and they are specifically built to run with the data products. So that's kind of the next evolution in our best practices and content story, bringing that all together, plus the advantage of bringing certain SAP managed services into that. When we take a look, where do we want to go? And that's really like more like a visionary aspect is, we are thinking about having really like a network of enterprise plans that are very much aligned, and to even further automate such connected planning approach, we will establish certain planning agents. So the idea of an agent is that it helps you build a planning model, or it helps you to follow certain business processes. So, for example, you are you're modeling like a growth plan, and you're thinking about opening a new business in Morocco, and that agent will take you through different steps what you need to think of when you go that way. And the idea of that agent is that it's so smart and so knowledgeable that you don't need to tell first, what steps are needed. It really knows that, right? I mean, that's really where AI can play a significant game changer in such context. So instead of having every scenario pre-modeled and done by a project team, you will go into an approach where the business user together with an agent, a planning agent, can create certain steps and processes and solve their business requirements. We have a very, very first glance into that later also when we take a look how you would write planning logic today. What does it mean for BPC customers? So BPC customers today, planning consolidation. I'm focusing today on the planning piece, but I don't want to skip the consolidation piece, right? The best and the most advanced options, of course, migrate your planning scenarios into SAP Analytics Cloud. If you also run consolidation, which I know many of our customers also do, you have also the possibility to use SAP Analytics Cloud for the planning piece, and then for the consolidation piece, keep continuing using SAP Business Planning Consolidation, either way on-premise, so like it is before, or in a private cloud edition. Or, of course, the cloud option, you can go to S/4HANA Group Reporting. That's not new. That has been always the case. And of course, you can move between the one or the other, solution over time. New now is actually that you can bring that all together in the SAP Business Data Cloud, meaning you can use inside the Business Data Cloud Analytics Cloud for planning, and in parallel you have BPC in the private cloud edition also integrated into that. So you have one single environment where you have the new world and the old world working together, and that's really not only from a technical perspective but also from a license perspective, which could be also an interesting option for many customers. And we see already many customers going that path anyway, because they are trying to move their BW environment into a cloud environment, and that's then the path we are using Business Data Cloud, and BPC will just follow the same approach and will benefit from the same logic. What is not supported, especially now for the move into the Business Data Cloud, is BPC Microsoft version. Here, if you're using Microsoft version, I would say the migration into direct integration to SAP Analytics Cloud is a preferred path. But what does actually private cloud edition mean? It's basically like a lift approach, taking an on-premise system, a BW system with or without BPC, it doesn't make any difference here, and taking it as it is, and together with SAP, bring it into a cloud environment. That's what we call PCE, so Private Cloud Edition. And the good thing is that's not only for the newest and greatest and latest BW. You can do this for BW 7.5, and that means you can also do that for BPC 10.1. And then you can still move on and go to BPC 11, for example, or continue using the BPC 10.1 if you're satisfied with that. And as I said before, right? This all is really a cloud product, so it's also licensed the same way, which gives you a lot of flexibility in the end, how you would like to use your Business Data Cloud capacity units, and you can have a very nice transition also from a license perspective. Having that all in one platform allows you also to think about certain hybrid use cases, right? I've tried to come up with a representation on the most common scenarios I've seen in the past. So the one thing is you could go from left to right. You could use BPC, pretty much isolated from Analytics Cloud, and just once in a while do data export from BW into Analytics Cloud. Typical scenarios: you have already your finance planning, you don't have any HR planning yet, so you start with HR planning directly in Analytics Cloud, and only a subset of the data you would need to bring from BW into Analytics Cloud to bring things together. Of course, that's just a very easy approach. The second aspect is you could take certain scenarios that you have in your BPC system, certain planning. So might it be, for example, sales planning, and extend that with usage into Analytics Cloud. There is a predefined replication mechanism that brings data in and out, and that's really makes a lot of sense for customers. Still stick for BPC for a while, but still want to use Analytics Cloud with their features. Then we have the planning extension, it's another way of replicating data. This is a different use case. And last but not least, for those who are using BPC embedded, here's a live connection, they can actually use, SAC kind of as a front end to BPC. That's especially interesting, of course, in the business data cloud, where you could say, okay, you have in business data cloud the BPC logic and the BW with the data, and you start leveraging the new front end of Analytics Cloud, and in the back end you can then do certain migration step phase by phase. You can phase out certain BPC logic and replace it with the newest and greatest from SAC planning, while the end user doesn't recognize the change, because you're already using the web front, and what is happening in the backend is not transparent for the user. Very, very smart way to actually run a migration project. So last but not least, last chapter here, we're talking about AI. And I would just grab a couple of examples what AI could mean and how that could actually help making a migration project easier. So when the things I show you now, whatever I show you, think about how would you have seen or done that in BPC, and how and then we come to the conclusion why that can really help the migration. So different things. We have certain features. We have just asked with Joule, and we have more advanced infusing AI topics here that are still on the roadmap. So let me start with Joule. I would say most of you probably as a loyal SAP customers have heard about Joule. Joule is, I would say, our co-pilot for the SAP ecosystem. Well, it's like you can understand that as a common UX that is able to do like a chatbot interaction across the SAP landscape. And it knows the business context. And that's pretty important. I'll show you that later in the demo. And thereby, it can really help you to navigate easier and faster in the complex SAP environment, right? So, we usually differentiate 4 different interaction patterns. One is informational, so that's typical things like, how do I do this and this? So something where, in the past you would open up Google and, do a query and then end up at a huge SAP help document. This can be done by Joule. Then navigational things. So that's more like, where do I create a new product? And then it moves you to the right place in the right application, right? So remember, Joule is just really sitting on top of all of our applications. So it's not part of ERP, it's not part of BDC or something. It's really the master above it. Then you have transactional support, meaning it does not only show you where you would create a new product, but it also gives you help how to do it. And then last but not least, for our topic today here, all the analytical topics, right? So you can ask Joule questions about certain business situations, and it will actually help finding the answers. How does it work? So I have like a short video here integrated. So this would be, let's start easy. That's more like the typical, informational thing. Yeah, you ask something, and the Joule will give you an explanation about, what, for example, just ask is. Now comes more like the analytical use case. So I want to see, units by stores and states, and then. And that's already, really the very nice showcase. It really brings you up not only the data, but really a chart, and it knows where the data is, right? You don't need to worry about finding the data. You can even filter further, right? Saying, okay, I want to see that only in Canada, right? And if it has questions, it will ask back. So it not just produce something, but really comes back with a question if things are not clear. You can even, go a little further and say, can we have a trend of the sales? And, because of the natural language processing behind it, it really understands what you would like to see. And of course, it knows what in the past has been requested. So it's really knows how your business works and what happens. And if you would make mistakes, for example, right, it would also point that out and make sure you don't request useless data, or it will not just ignore things. It will really ask what do you want data. So these are typical analytical use cases. Why do I show that? I want to show you that because these are the things where in the past you have created reports and reports and report just in case someone would like to look for that information, right? And that's the kind of what I call ad hoc requests that now really can be done by Joule. And right now nobody has opened any BI tool or anything like that. That's just in the interaction with Joule. One other aspect that we have, of course, in Analytics Cloud is predictive forecasting. So, for example, you are doing sales planning, and you would like to do, okay, what is my expected sales in that region or that and that city, for example. We have predefined, machine learning capabilities, classification, regression, and so on. And you can not only do that on the data you have, but you can also acquire data. Best example, like local purchasing power. You want to know, how much money would the people in that city probably spend on these products, something that you probably would have to buy somewhere. We have the SAP data marketplace that can be connected, and you can just integrate that. And the typical use case here is actually, the end user who is not a data science, right? So something where quick and easy, you get a good prediction. It's not 100%, it's like 70, 80% quality, but it gives you a very good first impression, right? And then for the majority of the use cases, that is enough. If that is not enough, we have the possibility over APIs to add the Jupyter notebook, and then you can bring all the nerds and AI gurus, and they will sit in a room and they will develop the best model for that specific use case, and just integrate that out of the box here into Analytics Cloud. And leverage that then, of course, in the planning process, right? We are talking about planning. Latest innovation on the simulation capabilities, what we call Compass. It's basically a Monte Carlo simulation where you have the possibility to evaluate the impact of certain drivers on an outcome. So, for example, you're a fast-growing tech company, and you would like to predict the operational costs for the next couple of years. Highest factors for your costs are employees and buildings. So you basically have the possibility to say, okay, this is what I expect my employees between that amount and that amount to cost, and the buildings, and then it will actually run multiple thousands of calculations of different combinations of that variables, with the result that you get what we call like a probability distribution. So you have to go with some assumptions for your 5 years business plan, and as you can see here on that screenshot, you see that purple chart there. It will tell you with a probability of 80%, my total costs will be around that value. And that gives you just higher confidence in the assumptions that you take into account when doing a business plan. Then of course, large language models are everywhere. So also inside SAP, it's still some of these things here. That's really like what we are working on. And here, I guess everyone knows that you're doing some analysis. You come up with a nice table, a nice chart, but still you have to do some explanations. You have to summarize what your key findings. And that's like a sweet spot to use large language models, where you can basically auto-generate a text that explains, the key findings and the situation that you have discovered, and yeah, helps basically to summarize a lot of data in an easy to understand text, also in different languages, right? I mean, that's also quite important. That goes even a step further when you think about commenting, right? Commenting can be is very useful, but it can be also very tough, right? I mean, if you have you're in a corporate and you have comments on certain business situations from hundreds of subsidiaries, and you need to figure out what is the essence of that. You need to read all of that. Then you need to bring it into the right weight. So some subsidiaries are more important than others, and that's really a time-consuming task. And here is really also another sweet spot for large language models, where you can basically quite automatically translate that comment and then summarize that. And it really takes away a lot of time and effort. And it works really good already, right? So these kind of things are really interesting and can change the process. Yeah, and last but not least, the last thing I like to show you is how we basically oh, that's interesting, it doesn't come up. Yeah. How the AI agents can help you to do more complex stuff. For example, you would like to have the calculation that is not that easy, and would like to have like a sorry for that. My video. Just a second. I'll try it again. Just thank you. Oh, thank you. That's good. Okay, sorry for that. I don't know why the video is skipping. But what I wanted to show you is actually that the AI agent, the planning AI agent, can help you creating really complex formulas. So in the past, you probably would have the need for a consultant or a power user that goes and then builds a complex differentiation formula or something like that. Now with AI, you can basically do this first of all on the fly, or talking about an easy path to the cloud in a migration project. I mean, these things are so much quicker now, right? I mean, when you take a look, what customers spend in the past, on script logic and all of that, that was huge, right? That was really huge. And AI, I mean, you can bring it down to 1 or 2% of that effort. Sure, you need to test it. Sure, someone needs to validate that and see if it is really doing what you expected. But that is by far not the effort anymore that was there in the past. So that's really, and things we are working on. So let's go for some key takeaways. I hope to bring over. So first of all, BPC, is PCE edition is now part of the Business Data Cloud, and that means it can secure your existing investment into BPC and BW, and gives you a unique chance to do like a phased move into Analytics Cloud. Right? That's really new. Second, the best practices and the business content are there. They have been proven to be really help in migration projects, in new implementations. So leverage those, and migration is really so much easier. The new AI capabilities, as just shown, they should not only make life easier for the end users, but also making transition much easier. Because instead of creating all that 100 reports that may be used once a year, the Joule AI Copilot will just give the answer, and you don't need to have such reports, created upfront to a high cost, right? And not talking about the formulas and so on. SAC planning has also much more capabilities, right? I mean, so of course, when we started this SAC, there were certain limitations compared to BPC. But I would say I've not come across a single situation the last here where we really did not find a solution for the one or the other specific BPC feature. So it's out there and can much more. I mean, look at all that commenting, look at AI and all of that. It's really so much better. And last but not least, if you're looking into business data cloud, the data products, they are really the key, the turning point, right? Having finally an aligned layer of all your SAP data, bring also external data in, and don't need to worry about all the different complexity of mapping data and so on. That can also, be a real benefit for any BPC customers looking into a cloud transition. Yeah, with that, I'm done with the few things I would like to show you. And I'm taking a look now at the questions. You can see where I would see them.
Okay, I do see them now. So first question would be, when using SAP Business Data Cloud, how can customers control the amount of data being transferred between multi-cloud and on-premise landscapes so they don't incur into significant data egress charges of data transfer fees?
Yeah, that's I'm sure there are measures in place where you can basically monitor in and out coming data, but we have to take that offline and talk with the ETL experts in our team on that.
Okay. SAP BPC to lift and shift to SAP Private Cloud to utilize later SAP Business Data Cloud is fine. But does that mean that the underlying SAP BW systems might still have the technical 7.5 stack, or that itself not running on a SAP HANA database?
It will run on so it will be an SAP 7.5 on HANA because our private cloud is on HANA, but it doesn't have to be BW for HANA. So you would skip that migration requirement.
I hope that answered the question. We have here another one. BPC on S4 RISE still existing? An example, use BPC direct on S4 engine. Customer can still go for this option?
Yes, that option is still there.
Okay, short and crisp. Do we have any, I mean, that has been all the questions so far. Do we have still any other questions? Now would be your moment to type in the question in the chat. Yes, we have another one. We have BW on HANA, NetWeaver 7.5, SP28, which is hosted in HEC, HANA Enterprise Cloud, in which we have BPC component in it. Do we need to move it to PCE edition?
Yes. Yes, that has to go through a PCE conversion. But that should, to my understanding, but there are experts out there who can take a look at that and we can make the connection, but that should not be like a huge project.
Okay, we have now one raised hand from a participant. I will unmute you. So you are now able to talk. See the name Heidi. So if you want to ask your question directly, just unmute yourself and then you're able to talk. In the meanwhile, we have another question. What is the time, money, effort involved to move it to PCE?
So it's a project done together with SAP, and I think the effort is significantly lower than like full BW4 conversion, and it has to go through a certain assessment where we get a price on that. But we are talking about a short time. It's not about a month, couple of months or so. So it's really something.
Okay, hope that it answered the question. Again, we have one colleague who raised their hand. Okay, but it seems like there is no question. Another question. Could you provide additional details where we need to get these PC conversion details?
Yes, we will publish that also. I think I don't have it here because I've put a couple of things in here, but that we will share that. Can share that and put it in the material.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Any
So no further
other?
questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any further question. Just for your information, the next session will be held next week, and next week we will talk about the SAP Business Warehouse Modernization. So happy if all of you could join again. And indeed, I don't see any additional question in the chat, which means we are good for today. So thank you, Thorsten. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the very interesting session. And I hope to see all participants next week, Tuesday, same time, same location. Again, with that, have a very nice rest of the day, a very nice rest of the week, and talk to you all soon next week, Tuesday.
Bye.